ओम अच्युताय नमः। ओम अनंताय नमः। ओम गोविंदाय नमः। शुक्लां वरदरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्याये सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। अयमूर्त समुसर्दोऽस्तु विमन्दो मन्दो नोत्रणन्दो अयमूर्त समुसर्दोऽस्तु तदेव लग्नं सदिनं तदेव ताराबलं चन्द्रबलं तदेव विद्याबलं दैवबलं तदेव लक्ष्मीपदे ते ग्रीं स्मरामि। ओम भू ओम भुव ओम शिव ओम मह ओम जन ओम तव ओम सत्यम ओम तत्सदुर्भवणीयम भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्। ओम अवज्योतिर्समृतमुर्मुसुरम् मम पात समस्त दुर्द शतवारासी परमेश्वर प्रीत्यर्थम करिष्यमाणस्य कर्मणः निर्विघ्नेन प्रसन्नतत्तम आदौ विघ्नेश्वर पूजां करिष्ये। पृथ्व्यां मेरु तुलसी सूरं चन्द्रवर्मो देवता पृथ्वी दिया तिर्दा लोकादेशं विष्णुना तुर्दा त्वं सत्तारे मां देवी पुत्रं गुरुसाधनम् आगमार्थं तु देवानां गमनार्थं तु रक्षसां खण्डार्वं करां यादव अमोपात समस्त दुर्द शतवारासी परमेश्वर प्रीत्यर्थम निर्बंध सिद्धतमादो विघ्नेश्वर पूजां करिष्ये। गणानां गणपतिगुं अवामहे कविं कवीनामोमस्तत्रमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणस्पद आनुसूनुपुष्टिसाधनम् अस्मिन् दरिद्राब्धे महागणपतिं ध्यायामि महागणपतिम् आवाहयामि। ओम महागणपतिये नमः आसनं समर्पयामि। ओम महागणपतिये नमः अर्घ्यं समर्पयामि। ओम महागणपतिये नमः पाद्यं समर्पयामि। ओम महागणपतिये नमः आचमनीयं समर्पयामि। ओम महागणपतिये नमः उपसारिकस्नानं समर्पयामि। ओम महागणपतिये नमः स्नानानन्तरम् आचमनीयं समर्पयामि। ओम महागणपतिये नमः वस्त्रदातम् अक्षतां समर्पयामि। ओम महागणपतिये नमः यज्ञोपवीतार्थम् अक्षतां समर्पयामि। ओम महागणपतिये नमः गन्धां धारयामि समर्पयामि। ओम महागणपतिये नमः गन्धोपरि अक्षतां समर्पयामि। ओम महागणपतिये नमः अलङ्करणार्थम् अक्षतां समर्पयामि। ओम महागणपतिये नमः हरिद्रा कुङ्कुमं समर्पयामि। ओम महागणपतिये नमः पुष्पै पूजयामि। ओम सुमुखाय नमः। ओम एकदन्ताय नमः। ओम कपिलाय नमः। ओम गजकर्णकाय नमः। ओम लंबोदराय नमः। ओम विगणाय नमः। ओम विघ्नराजाय नमः। ओम विनायकाय नमः। ओम धूमकेतवे नमः। ओम गणाध्यक्षाय नमः। ओम बालचंद्राय नमः। ओम गजाननाय नमः। ओम वक्रतुंडाय नमः। ओम शूर्पकर्णाय नमः। ओम हेरंबाय नमः। ओम स्कंदपूर्धवाय नमः। ओम सिद्धविनायरे नमः। ओम शंकरमोक्ष विनायकरे नमः। ओम आतुपुर विनायकरे नमः। ओम महागणपतिये नमः। नानाविध परिमल पत्र पुष्पाणि समर्पयामि। धूपार्थं समर्पयामि। दीपार्थं समर्पयामि। अक्षतां समर्पयामि। ओम भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात् देवसवितप्रसवसत्यं दोर्णेन प्रसञ्जामि अमृतत्वं स्वाहा ओम प्राणाय स्वाहा ओम अपानाय स्वाहा ओम व्यानाय स्वाहा ओम उदानाय स्वाहा ओम समानाय स्वाहा ओम ब्रह्मणे स्वाहा महागणपतिये नमः महागणपतिये नमः महागणपतिये नमः उडगंड कदलीपळ निवेद्यं समर्पयामि मध्ये मध्ये पानीयं समर्पयामि अमृतोपचार उत्तराभोसं समर्पयामि कर्पूरं समर्पयामि नमो नमो गणेशाय नमस्ते विष्णुवे वेदोयं गुरुमेलाय नीराजनं समर्पयामि नीराजनानन्तरम् आस्मनीयं समर्पयामि वक्रतुंड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा गणपति प्रसादं सत्सा कृणामि ओम भो ओम भुव ओम शिव ओम मह ओम जन ओम तप ओम सत्यम ओम तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात् ओम अब ज्योतिर्समृद्धं ममोपात समस्त दुर्द सहस्वारा श्री परमेश्वर प्रीत्यर्थम सुबह शोभने मुहूर्ते आद्य ब्रह्मण द्वितीय परार्थे श्रीवेदे वराकल्पे वैवस्वत मन्वंतरे अष्टाविंशतितमे कलियुगे ऋतमे बाधे जम्बूद्वीपे भारतवर्षे भरतखण्डे मेरो दक्षिणे पार्श्वे सगाप्ते अस्मिन् वर्तमाने व्यापावृके प्रभादिनां तस्य संवत्सराणां मध्ये शोभकृतु नाम संवत्सरे दक्षिणायने वर्ष ऋतु सिंहमासे कृष्णपक्षे द्वितीयां तिथियां सुबुधितो उत्तरपूर्वद पूर्वटादि नक्षत्र ऋगुवासरयुक्तायां पूर्वप्रोष्ठापदा नक्षत्रयुक्तायां शुभ नक्षत्र शुभयोग शुभकर्ण एवं गुण विशेषण विशिष्टायाम् अस्यां द्वितीयां सुबदितौ मम जन्मपप्रति एतक्षणपर्यन्तं मध्ये सम्भाविधानं सर्वेषां भावानां सत्य अवमानार्थं सहकुर्माणं क्षेमसद्धर्य वीर्य विजय आयुरारोग्य ऐश्वर्याणाम् अभिवृद्ध्यर्थं समस्तमङ्गलाभ्यर्थं समस्त दुर्दोपशान्तर्थं रमण महर्षेः प्रसादेन ज्ञानवैराग्य सिद्ध्यर्थं श्री रमण महर्षेः पूजां करिष्ये तदङ्गं कलश पूजां च करिष्ये विघ्नेश्वरं यथास्थानं प्रतिष्ठापयामि शोभनार्थे क्षेमाय पुनरागमनाय च कलशस्य मुखे विष्णुकण्ठे रुद्रसमाजित मूले तत्र स्थितो ब्रह्मा मातृगणे समृद्धा कुशौ तु सागरा सर्वे सप्तशिवा सुन्दरा ऋग्वेदो यजुर्वेदो सामवेदः प्रकरणः गंगे नक्षत्रे गोदावरी सरस्वती नर्मदे सिन्धु कावेरी जलेस्मिन् सन्निधिं कुरु अङ्गैः देता सर्वे कंसाव समाजित आयान्तु देवपूजार्थं दुर्दक्षा अंबूरा सागरोत्पन्नो विष्णुहविष्णुकरे देवदेव पादिने नमोस्तुते देवो देवदेव प्रोक्ति वक्तुनान अंजान निर्माल्यं स्वयंभवने पूजयेत् ओम सकलगुणात्मशक्तियुक्ता योगपीडात्मने नमः आधार शक्तिये नमः मूल प्रकृतिये नमः आदिवराय नमः आदिकूर्माय नमः अनंताय नमः पृथ्व्यै नमः आदित्यादि नवग्रहदेवताभ्यो नमः दशदिक्पालेभ्यो नमः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरा गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै से गुरवे नमः ओम अस्यति प्राणप्रतिष्ठा मंदस्य ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरा ऋषिकेश सामदर्वाणी संतांसी सकल जगत सृष्टि सम्मारकारिणी प्राणशक्ति परादेवता आम बीजम हरिम शक्ति क्रोम कीलकम प्राण प्रतिष्ठापने विनियोग आम अंगुष्ठाभ्याम नमः हरिं दर्जनीभ्याम नमः क्रोम मध्यमाभ्याम नमः आमनाभिभ्याम नमः हरिं अनुष्ठिकाभ्याम नमः क्रोम करलपुष्टाभ्याम नमः आम हृदयाय नमः हरिं शिरसे स्वाहा क्रोम शिखाय वसट आम कौसायम हरिं नेत्रताय वसट क्रोम अस्त्रताय पट पूर्व सर्वे दिग्बंध ध्यानम रक्तांबोधिस्थ बोधोरस तरुणसौनकराब्जे पासं बोधंडं निक्षुप्तो मणिगुण पंचमाणात् विप्राण सुखमानं तृणसुतापिनिसोरट्या देवी बाला गौर्णा बहुसुदरी प्राणशक्ति पुराण ओम आम हरिं क्रोम क्रोम हरिं माम हम यम रम लम वम सम सम हंस सोम सोम हंस अस्यामूर्तौ दीपतिष्ठतु अस्यामूर्तौ सर्वेन्द्रियाणि वाङ्मनस्सहस्रस्तोत्र जीव्या प्राणवाक् पाणिपाद पायुपुस्तानि याकस्ति स्वस्ति सुगं सुरं दृष्टन्तु स्वाहा। ओम प्राणप्रतिष्ठा मंदित्य ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वरा ऋषिकेश सामदर्वाणी सन्ति सकल सम्मार्गाणि प्राणशक्ति परादेवता आम बीजम हरिं शक्ति ओम कीलकम प्राणप्रतिष्ठापने विनियोग आम अंगुष्ठाभ्याम नमः हरिं दर्जनीभ्याम नमः क्रोम मध्यमाभ्याम नमः आमनाभिभ्याम नमः क्रोम करिष्ठभ्याम नमः आम हृदयाय नमः हरिं शिरसे स्वाहा क्रोम शिखाय वसट आम कौसायम हरिं नेत्रदाय वसट क्रोम अस्त्रदाय पट पूर्व सर्वे दिग्बंध असुनीदे पुनर्स्मार्थ सक्सपुर प्राणवीन उदे भोगम जो पश्चिम में सूर्य मत्स्य मनमयानि स्थिति आवाहितो भव सद्दाहितो भव सन्निहितो भव सन्निहितो भव अवगुण्डितो भव सुब्रतो भव सुप्रसन्नो भव सुमुखो भव वरदो भव प्रसिद्ध प्रसिद्ध स्वामी सर्वजगन्नाथ यावत् पूजावसानकं तावत् त्वं प्रतिभावेन बिम्बेऽस्मिन् सन्निधं कुरु। स्वाहा भारत स्वाहा ज्ञान स्वाहा उदान स्वाहा स्वान स्वाहा Please go to page 62. If you want to be encouraged, page 3, otherwise 62, this is from Bhagavan Ramana. Let's go. Basically, invoking Bhagavan Ramana. So we decide your purpose. So this is the Bhagavan Ramana Sastram Namavari. Bhagavan के विभिन्न प्रकार से उनको ध्यान रखें.
भारसचित् सुगवारिराशे यशोर्मिमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं पुरायुधं तं रणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं निर्विचिन्तयामि। ॐ महासेन जाताय नमः। ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः। ॐ गुरवे नमः। ॐ अखण्डसंविदागाराय नमः। ओम महोजसे नमः। ओम कारणोद्भवाय नमः। ओम जगत्पितावताराय नमः। ओम श्री भूमिनाथस्थलोद्धिदाय नमः। ओम पराशरगुलोत्तंसाय नमः। ओम सुधर्यादबलाय नमः। ओम गमनीयसुधारित्राय नमः। ओम सहायाम्बा सहावते नमः। ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः। ॐ स्वर्णहस्तगाय नमः। ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः। ॐ महाशक्तिनिवादेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः। ॐ विदुराक्षोणशैलप्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रदये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ शिराय नमः। ॐ तपदक्षिणसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ पुल्लाम्बिजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चन्द्रिकाशिरहासश्रीमण्डदाननमण्डलाय नमः। शूरवाड्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ शूर्णिदागिलविप्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततद्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणादिगाय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रचिताचिदताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्वनिवाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणविमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ वीर्याय नमः। ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशोणाचलकृद्भूतस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रीसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रसन्तसंचिन्नसंशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममदातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमदस्थानामाराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविदायकाय नमः। ॐ विनुदाय नमः। ॐ विनुदाय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ भावगोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनादकसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ शास्त्रिगरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्वर्णाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरसण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारनवादारकाय नमः। ॐ श्रीचक्रे नमः ॐ आर्धविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः ॐ अविद्युदनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः ॐ श्रीसत्यगमातपसे नमः ॐ कमण्डलूधराय नमः ॐ शुक्रगौरीनवसनाय नमः ॐ गुहाय नमः ॐ दण्डबाणये नमः ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः ॐ भवरोगभिषग्वराय नमः ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः ॐ देवतमाय नमः ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः ॐ सेनान्ये नमः ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः।
ओम नमो भगवते श्री अरुणाचल श्री रमणाय नमः। ओम नमो भगवते श्री अरुणाचल श्री रमणाय नमः। ओम नमो भगवते श्री अरुणाचल श्री रमणाय नमः। ओम हरि ओम। शिवस्तोत्रम चलेगा। शिवस्तोत्रम चलेगा ना। शिवस्तोत्रम
शिवाष्टोत्तरं चलेगा।
अப்புறம் लेक्चर आरம்பிக்கலாம். शिवस्तोत्रम चलेगा. 5 minutes.
Narayanji, the mic is not very clear. Microphone is not clear, sir.
88 page in Sanskrit and 44 in Tamil.
88 page.
44 in Tamil.
44 in Tamil. Please record all people in silent mode, please.
ॐ शिवाय नमः ॐ महेश्वराय नमः ॐ शम्भवे नमः ॐ पिनाकिने नमः ॐ शशिशेखराय नमः ॐ वामदेवाय नमः ॐ विरूपाक्षाय नमः ॐ कवर्दिने नमः ॐ नीललोहिताय नमः ॐ शङ्कराय नमः ॐ शूलबाणये नमः ॐ खड्वाङ्गिने नमः ॐ विष्णुवल्लभाय नमः ॐ शिवविष्टाय नमः ॐ अम्बिकानाथाय नमः ॐ श्रीकण्ठाय नमः ॐ भक्तवत्सलाय नमः ॐ भवाय नमः ॐ सर्वाय नमः ॐ त्रिलोकेशाय नमः ॐ श्रीकण्ठाय नमः ॐ शिवाप्रियाय नमः ॐ उग्राय नमः ॐ कपालिने नमः ॐ कामारये नमः ॐ अन्तकासुरसूदनाय ॐ गङ्गाधराय नमः ॐ ललाटाक्षाय नमः ॐ कालकालाय नमः ॐ कृपानिधये नमः ॐ भीमाय नमः ॐ परशहस्ताय नमः ॐ मृगबाणये नमः ॐ जटाधराय नमः ॐ कैलासवासिने नमः ॐ कवशिने नमः ॐ गडोराय नमः ॐ त्रिपुरान्तकाय नमः ॐ ऋषाङ्गाय नमः ॐ ऋषभारूढाय नमः ॐ भस्मोद्गोलितविग्रहाय नमः ॐ सामप्रियाय नमः ॐ स्वरमयाय नमः ॐ त्रिमूर्तये नमः ॐ मनीश्वराय नमः ॐ सर्वज्ञाय नमः ॐ परमात्मने नमः ॐ सूर्याग्निलोचनाय नमः ॐ हविषे नमः ॐ यज्ञमयाय नमः ॐ सोमाय नमः ॐ पञ्चवक्त्राय नमः ॐ सदाशिवाय नमः ॐ विश्वेश्वराय नमः ॐ वीरभद्राय नमः ॐ गणनाथाय नमः ॐ प्रजापतये नमः ॐ हिरण्यरेतसे नमः ॐ दुर्दर्शाय नमः ॐ गिरीशाय नमः ॐ गिरीशाय नमः ॐ अनगाय नमः ॐ भुजङ्गभूषणाय नमः ॐ वर्गाय नमः ॐ गिरिधन्वने नमः ॐ गिरिप्रियाय नमः ॐ मृत्युवाससे नमः ॐ पुराराधये नमः ॐ भगवते नमः ॐ प्रमादादिवाय नमः ॐ मृत्युञ्जयाय नमः ॐ सूक्ष्मधनवे नमः ॐ जगत्व्यापिने नमः ॐ जगद्गुरवे नमः ॐ व्योमकेशाय नमः ॐ महासेनजनकाय नमः ॐ चारुविक्रमाय नमः ॐ रुद्राय नमः ॐ भूतपदये नमः ॐ स्थानवे नमः ॐ महिर्बुद्धियाय नमः ॐ दिगम्बराय नमः ॐ अष्टमूर्तये नमः ॐ अनेकात्मने नमः ॐ सात्विकाय नमः ॐ शुद्धविग्रहाय नमः ॐ शाश्वताय नमः ॐ कण्ठवरशवे नमः ॐ अजाय नमः ॐ पाशविमोचकाय नमः ॐ मृडाय नमः ॐ पशुपतये नमः ॐ देवाय नमः ॐ महादेवाय नमः ॐ अव्ययाय नमः ॐ हरये नमः ॐ भूषदण्डविदे नमः ॐ अव्यक्ताय नमः ॐ दक्षात्परहराय नमः ॐ हराय नमः ॐ भगनेत्रविदे नमः ॐ अव्यक्ताय नमः ॐ सहस्राक्षाय नमः ॐ सहस्रपादे नमः ॐ अपवर्गप्रदाय नमः ॐ अनन्ताय नमः ॐ तारकाय नमः ॐ परमेश्वराय नमः
ओम नमो भगवते श्री रमणाय श्री पार्वतीये नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय नमः शिवाय ओम शिवाय ओम शिवाय ओम शिवाय ओम हरि ओम हरि ओम
Namo Ramana. On this holy occasion of Advent Day, Dr. Vijay Vancheshwar shall be addressing all of us. He shall be speaking on the significance and importance of Advent Day and its relevance to Lord Dakshinamurti and Arunachala. Dr. Vijay Vancheshwar, please.
Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahman Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. The way we will talk now is, let's observe a minute of silence before we start the silence and end also with silence. The reason is, Bhagavan's teaching, if you see, because today is an important day, Bhagavan's teaching focused on teaching through silence. In fact, that's the most powerful, he said. And the beauty of it, before we maintain silence, the word for, he focused on being, astitva. Astitva means your own self. Can we deny that we exist? Before we say God or other things, can we deny our existence? We cannot deny our existence. Astitva. The focus is astitva. In Tamil it is called irupadu. So that is why the Tamil word is summa iru. Summa iru means keep quiet. Not physically, but mentally. Very difficult. Because the mind is a monkey. It keeps jumping. And in Urdu, of course, it's called wazoot or mawzoot. You must have heard mawzoot. Mawzoot. So, astitva, mawzoot. So, let us spend some time, 1 minute, just focusing. Those who have been to Tiruvannamalai, many of us have been fortunate, we have been there. Assume you are in the meditation hall, the small meditation hall, and imagine Bhagavan sitting there. You can recollect his face and you can keep dwelling on it, can't you? Those who are fortunate. Even otherwise, those who have not been there or those who are looking at his picture, or if you just go within and spend, let's start by spending a minute. Okay? and then we will start the talk. Om Sri Ramana. Om Sri Ramanarpanamastu. See, the very silence that we experience when we go within is amazing, isn't it? But Ramana always focused, that's why in his very presence, one lost the individuality or focus on one's own self. And that's the greatness of this Guru. He indeed was a Sadguru. Let me start with one question. You see, I was reminded, our little grandson, 2.5 years, he keeps asking people very funnily, "Are you happy?" Now, this comes spontaneously. The question that he asked, he just comes and says, "Are you happy?" 2.5 years old. And I was surprised. Maybe we are talking about happiness. Are you happy? Are you happy? Now, Bhagavan says, happiness is your true nature. It's your birthright. We all are seeking happiness, but we are seeking it in the wrong place. We are seeking happiness by going for holidays, by going movies, external things. Yes, it gives pleasure, but not happiness. So that's a good question. Are you happy? But there is something that should be more deeper than happiness. What do you think that is? Happiness means there will also be unhappiness. There is one word in Hindi, can someone tell me, which is much more deeper? Yes, please. Shant is very correct. Yes, please. Anand. Love. Santusht. Santusht तभी होते हैं when we are within ourselves. We seek happiness not knowing that where to get it. So this santusht. So let me ask another question. What is the purpose of life? Can someone tell me? What do you think is the purpose of our life? Yes, please. No, I have Upadhyay ji, is a spiritual teacher. First time he is coming here. So it's good. Thank you for coming. Upadhyay ji, what do you think is the purpose of life?
Purpose of life is life itself.
Okay.
And many gurus have said that in Hindi, first state Paramatma only can be heart. So, arising from your baser instinct,
Higher instinct.
that's the
Purpose. But don't you think this is an important question? Don't you think this is an important question? Are we born just to grow, get a job, marry, procreate, make money, die like a product? Birth, growth, stabilize, decay. Is that all there is? Isn't there something more to life?
That's what they say. It's your true nature.
Correct.
They say our true nature is Sachidanand.
Correct.
Our true nature is Samaj.
Yeah. So the purpose of
Bliss nature.
Correct.
Nature is not bliss.
So we seek happiness in many things that we assume will be lasting, but it is not. Ramana says, that's a beauty. Very simply put, purpose of life, okay, he said, find out who you are. Purpose of life is to be with your source or with your astutva. Now we will be reciting 3 slokas towards the end of this interaction. I won't call it a talk. Dakshinamurti Stotra. Now you know Dakshinamurti, sage Dakshinamurti was supreme sage. In fact, I would think Bhagavan Ramana is a representation in today's time of Dakshinamurti, because at 16 years he taught much senior more people, 4 people, Sananta, Sanantana, Sanata, Sujata, and Shantakumara. He gave them, they wanted to know the purpose of life or what is the truth, and he talked in silence. So the Chin Mudra, which represents Dakshinamurti, the explanation, see, the thing is, in our own religion, we don't teach children the depth of some of these things. Once you tell them, like if a child asks, have you seen God? We say, chup raho." We tell them not to talk about it. Actually, it's a very relevant question. Where is God? What do we say? Is there God? What do you think should be the answer to our child? Suppose this is normal. No? So let's say a child comes and asks you, is there God? What will be your answer? What would you think? Let's say a child. Pardon?
There is nothing that is not God.
What we should say is, are you there? So Bhagavan Ramana used to say, are you there? Can you say I'm not there? No. If you are there, God is there. But more important is, there is something that cannot be denied, and that is our astitva or our presence. So his whole focus of teaching is antarmukam, reverse gear. Reverse gear. Because our tendency is to, you see, the mind being such a beautiful monkey, it always wants to go out. But we have to train the mind to come within, and that also he puts it so beautifully. He says, don't force it, cajole it. Cajole, आपने सुना cajole का मतलब? Like showing grass to a cow, so tempt करो. Don't force it, because anything that you force will have a negative reaction. Even a child, if you say you're not doing this, it is going to say, yes, I will do it. So make it a nice, pleasurable, cajole it and tempt, and then slowly with training. It's not easy. They say that it is as, in Kathopanishad, it is as difficult as walking on a razor's edge. बहुत ही कठिन है, मगर the salvation is if you are totally surrendering to the divine, to Bhagavan Ramana. If you surrender, there is recourse. So surrender is important. So cajole it and train it to be going within. So how many of, and I'm sorry, I'm just asking this because I think it is relevant. How many of us spend time every day spending time with ourselves? So many of you, you spend some time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It's important to do that, because what happens is the mind quietens then. Unfortunately, the mind, different degrees, so we need to train the mind, and satsang is important. That's why when we go to Tiruvannamalai, some of you, many of you have gone there, the very peace that you get in the meditation hall, you don't have to say much, isn't it? Such a great experience, because that environment is so facilitating, and the more we think, even remembering that is good enough. I was just looking at a video, I think I spoke to you about Kitty Osborne. Some of you might know. Arthur Osborne, was the gentleman who popularized Bhagavan's teachings in the Western world, and he stayed there along with Paul Brenton. So Kitty was a very small girl. So she says in those days, in the ashram, it was very informal. People used to run, joke with Bhagavan, and he was also very, very informal. So she said we used to go with him, talk to him. So she tells of an incident, very interesting incident. Apparently there was a lady in North India who had married against the wishes of her family, love marriage. Okay, so what happened was the family was very unhappy. And then, if you can please, yeah. So then in Chennai, it actually happened. She found, they went to the beach and her husband died. He was bitten by a shark. He died. So she was obviously very, very upset. She went to various gurus. They all gave all this talk, lecture, you're not the self body. Nothing happened. extremely upset. Then they came to, I believe, this husband's house. So Kitty was a small girl. So mother said, "Aap tum jaake take her to Bhagavan." So Kitty was afraid, okay, because she was so aggressive. This lady was totally perturbed. But she took her to Bhagavan, and she had written down some questions of why all this is happening. So this actually happened. Kitty recalled. She read that. And what happens is this lady goes to Bhagavan and then comes back. And she seems normal. So Kitty, as a small girl, is totally, kya ho gaya? Okay. Then she takes her to the home. She's afraid to ask because she says, at this age, how can I ask? She asks her mother, please find out what happened. So she says, the moment I went to Bhagavan, all questions and troubles disappeared. So that's the power of this great Guru. I mean, he could dissolve the questions. Same thing Paul Brenton, who has written about Bhagavan, says he used to ask, why are there problems in this world? So many questions, but none of the questions remained once they went, because he could take you beyond that, what we are involved in, the greatness of the man. And so many things have happened. One more incident about monkeys you must have read. Now, the greatness of Bhagavan Ramana, you see, monkeys used to come. He was Samabhav, whether it was a monkey, whether it was an animal, squirrel, they all related to him, as we have read. So apparently that time there was a news that they are going to catch these monkeys and send it to US for experiments. So Bhagavan was always humorous. He could communicate. He said, hey, please go away. He told the monkey, and he says, when the people came to catch, there was not a single monkey. Now, how do you attribute all this? Amazing. The third incident last, he said there was a Jatka puller. This Jatka puller, very poor man, his wife died. He had to cremate his wife, but he didn't know how to do it. It's raining and he didn't have the money to organize. He just came to Bhagavan and said, look, what do I do? You have to help me. Bhagavan just looks out, it is raining. It will become okay. And for exactly the time that the burial had to happen, there was no rain, and then it rained. So what she says, things used to happen very silently, smoothly. Amazing, isn't it? I think it was amazing. And now if you, Advent today, now coming, for those who, Advent is coming, homecoming. It is from the biblical thing. Before Christmas, the 4 Sundays before that, they anticipate the arrival of Christ. Here it refers to Bhagavan coming back to his home. He was already there. It was just a matter of coming and stabilizing there. You see, again coming back to this Chin Mudra, in Shaivite Kashmiri Shaivism, these 3 fingers, see, a purpose of life is Jiva should be attached to the Paramatma. So, what is the purpose of our life? To unite with our being. No, we are not there. We are not here. That's why we are always in trouble. And Kashmiri, they call it malas. Mala is impurity. There are 3 types of impurities. 3 types of impurities that we all have in various degrees. The first is very subtle, anava, 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 mala. Anava is individual consciousness. We all are subtlest. We are not able to appreciate or acknowledge that we are part of one universal web. You need to be Bhagavan to be doing that, but that's part of our conditioning. It's mental, anava. Second is maya, duality, happiness, unhappiness, pleasant, unpleasant, rich, poor, anava, maya. And the third is karma, karma mala, that is actions, individual doership. So it is anava, maya, and karma. Now these 3 are the impurities which prevent us from blending or joining with the Supreme. So that is the significance of this great teacher, Dakshinamurti. See, the purpose, because thumb, if we don't have the thumb, we can't use the hand. We can survive without a finger, but thumb we have to, because that is the fulcrum of our body. So see how beautifully they have. It's only that if we explain this properly to children, for instance, they will appreciate it. For example, God is actually a concept. Ramana says, in the sense that the world itself is a dream, but we are not able to accept it. But as long as you think you are there and the world is there, there is God. But what is permanently there, even in sleep, is our presence. Our own presence we cannot deny. Astitva. So that is what he says focus on. The screen on which the movie is played. And this can happen, it takes time, but requires dedicated effort, dedicated practice. So it is Advent Day, okay. So what happened? Bhagavan was already, he didn't have all these, see, he was born a divine soul. Individual consciousness was ready to get attached to the divine consciousness. It was in a stage of last stage. Like Amara, we have at the gross stage, we have a long way to go, but there is hope because at least we are here. If we ask, why are we here? We could have spent our time in the mall or the movie. Something is attracting us here. Is it not? Is it by accident or intent? Is it by intent or it is happening? Why is it that we are, if you ask yourself, what is it that draws us to spirituality? Is it that we want to, you find in the same family, aren't children different? Same family, one child is quiet, one child is drawn to spirituality, another child is drawn to something else. So this is our Purva Samskars, which draws us, and the more we encourage it, it is going to benefit us. So anyway, with Bhagavan it was already mature. So he was born in the year, as you all know, this is the 127th year of this Advent day. So Bhagavan was born in 1879. So when he was 16, which makes it 1896, July 1896, he had something called the death experience. Most of you would have read about it. So like we say, what is the purpose? He would have known the purpose is not just to live and go, but he imagined what would happen if I die. And he could see exactly what was happening, the body being taken, burnt. I am not the body. So that's when this whole thing started, and he was already drawn to this divine force, Arunachala. You know the meaning of Aruna? Yes, please. Red hill, yes, but other thing is Runa. Stable. Chala is stable. Runa could be known as the bondage. Runa, it breaks the bondage. The bondage that we have with this phenomenal world is broken by Arunachala, Runa. Runa is bondage, Aruna breaks it, that's one interpretation. Another is a red hill, and this hill, you know how old it is? This hill is a very ancient hill and supposed to be from time immemorial. This whole universe was supposed to be, when did it happen? When did the world? 4.6 billion years ago. And they have done tests on this hill. You know how old is this hill, Arunachala? 2.6 billion years old. It is the oldest hill in the universe. So that shows it is a stick from time immemorial. And it has been changing colors, shapes, etc. So he was drawn to it because he knew that was his mission. And for the good of humanity, it happened. For the benefit of all of us, some who saw him were very fortunate, others, the presence of him is great. So on this Advent day, he suddenly decided, you must have read, he wrote a letter. He was in class, Form 8 as they call it. And he wrote a letter, I am leaving in seeking my father. No effort need be made to search for this. Meaning it. Correct. I'll just read 2 sentences there. The letter he wrote was, I have set out in quest of my father in accordance with his command. It is on a virtuous enterprise, bahut mahatvapurna. It is something which is a noble exercise. Therefore, don't grieve, don't cry over this or grieve over this. Let no money be spent on this. So he starts with I, and then the I dissolves, and he just signs off with a line. You see, the I had disappeared. Yeah, no. That letter I think is in the ashram in Tamil. It is there. So he didn't. He just a line. Now, interestingly, his classmate, Ranga Iyer, Bhagavan's classmate, came later to meet him, and he asked him, "Why didn't you tell me that you are leaving?" You know what was the answer? How would I know? I didn't know. I didn't know that I am leaving. Meaning he was pulled by this power of Arunachala. And how he reached Arunachala, we know he took the train and got down at Vilupuram station. Yeah, because he saw the old address, but fortuitously then he stayed with Muthu Krishna Bhagavatar in Tirukoilur, took another train, reached on 1st September. So 1st September, 127 years back, is the day when this great soul reached. It looks like, would it have been possible for, I mean, it is the way things happened. The doors in the temple opened. He goes as a sannyasi. Somebody asks him to remove his hair. He shaves his hair. The rain comes. Doors open. He goes to the sanctum sanctorum. See, Albert Einstein is supposed to have asked about Mahatma Gandhi. History will tell us whether there was such a man who walked the earth, because Mahatma Gandhi also was selfless. But look at Bhagavan. If you think, could there have been somebody like this? It is, I mean, it is so remarkable, leaving everything, going like this, living amidst scorpions, not an iota of individuality. And he was always guided by this force of Arunachala. So on this day, Advent day, he set foot in Arunachala on the hill and stayed there permanently for 54 years. Now, not too many sages have stayed in the same place. Maybe Shirdi Baba stayed. Just not at one place. Shirdi Baba stayed mostly in that place for a long time. But I think very few have displayed this kind of, and he mostly communicated in silence. Because he said silence is the most eloquent language. सबसे श्रेष्ठ language mauna. Now on silence, speaking of silence on this day, and since we have from the north, there is an interesting verse. You have heard about Gorakhnath? Gorakhnath is a great sage, 800 years old. Gorakhnath Sampradaya, now Sampradaya Shiv, because again Gorakhpur is named after him. So he has sung a lot of couplet, and one is very relevant. It's called Gorakhvani, I will just say, which is relevant to this thing of silence. Gorakh kahe, suno e avdut. Gorakh kahe, suno e avdut. Avdut are those people who are into the saintly mission, who are in the spiritual path. Gorakh kahe, suno e avdut. Jag mein aise रहना. Live in the world like this. आंख से देखो, कान से सुनो, लेकिन मुंह से कुछ मत बोलना. The importance of silence. So गोरख कहे सुनो ये अवधूत, जग में ऐसे रहो रहना, आंख से देखो, कान से सुनो, लेकिन मुंह से कुछ नहीं बोलना. See how beautiful. Kabir has also said the same, and Bhagavan executed this. So when people used to ask Bhagavan, why is it that you are not talking? Why don't you give lectures? He said, there is nothing more powerful than silence. And the other thing he said is, each person is in a different stage of evolution, nothing good or bad. We are all differently programmed. How are we programmed? Are we born same? No. When we are born, we didn't choose our parents. No, this Ramesh Balsekarji, whom I visited, who was also devoted to Ramana. We had Gautam who came the other day. He was a disciple of Ramesh. So he used to say this, are we born, did we choose our parents? No. Did we choose the place that we were born? No. Did we choose the surroundings in which we were brought up? No. So most of it is a happening. And the vasanas are inbuilt. Therefore, the sense of surrender is so important. We didn't choose many things, it is a happening. In fact, it is more than art of living. It should be, Ramesh used to say, life is a happening, not a doing. Art of being lived, he used to say. Art of being lived rather than living, because living makes it doership down. And one more important thing, Nisargadatta Maharaj, who also taught in similar lines like Bhagavan, used to say one of the things, this doership is so strong to give up. So these are the two things that I just want to emphasize. One is kartutva, doership, another is mauna. So Nisargadatta Maharaj used to give a simple way of avoiding. Instead of saying, I am seeing something, he says, say something is being seen. This I should, first is this I should be taken. We are so possessive of this I, me, myself, my degrees, and this and that. Something is being seen, something is being heard. So you become passive rather than involved. That is one of the things that he suggested. So we have to be conscious and vigilant. It's not that we can do it immediately, but the more conscious we are, see, most of the talk that happens when we speak, it's all about I did this, I did that. The social media today is all about that. This I business, if it reduces, it's better. And it will reduce if we reflect on the teachings of sages. Siddheshwar Maharaj was the guru of Nisargadatta Maharaj. He gave a beautiful acronym. What is Maya? M-I-M. Maya is me. Maya is me. Meaning the more we think of me, I, that is Maya. The less we think of I, the better. In fact, Bhagavan used to say, lucky are the illiterates, because they are so humble. Unfortunately, knowledge increases pride. I know this, I know that. On a lighter vein, there was this attendant of Bhagavan, Palani Swami. So there was a lot of discussion, slokas going on, and they were having, Bhagavan used to spend time, some peanuts, mungfali. So he said, मुझे कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा है, कुछ अंदर, what is happening? They are doing so much of tapa, slokas, I don't understand, I think I'm unfit. So Bhagavan in his own humorous way, don't worry, let us do peanut parayan. See, he used to be like that. Just do period. Let us do this groundnut. That was the greatness of this soul. And you have heard of Mastan. Some of you, have you heard of Mastan? Mastan was a illiterate weaver. In fact, when you go to Tiruvannamalai, you can go and see the ashram has renovated the tomb of Mastan. He was a very simple soul, but he was highly evolved according to Bhagavan, because he came to Bhagavan and stood motionless, and Bhagavan blessed him, and he said he has attained moksha when he died. So he used to be a weaver, and most of Bhagavan's, he said he doesn't earn anything for himself, nor for his family, but at least he's making these langots for me. He used to make the langots which Bhagavan used to wear. So, and he had attained liberation according to Bhagavan because he was fully immersed. So the point is, it is not education. Kavyaganta Ganapati Muni, with great reverence, he is a gentleman, or he is the Muni who gave Bhagavan the name Ramana Maharshi. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. Arthur Osborne asked him after this, as he attained liberation, Aham Pole, Aham nahi gaya. He mentioned, in the sense that even with such great learned people, what happens is, with learning and acquisition of knowledge, it's very difficult to, I can become strong. So, a simple soul. So, it's important to dissolve and be absolutely surrendering to the divine. That's the point he was making, and that is the path he advocated. And so many things used to happen there, but he never would ever say it happened due to me, because he was not conscious it happened. His very thought, therefore, is a great blessing for us. So on Advent Day, when he came, then he comes here and spends his time and started giving his. Most of the time he used to be silent, of course, but on those occasions when they have recorded it, it has been a treasure house of knowledge, as we have seen. Doership and Mauna being the cornerstone, Kartutva to give up, and Mauna to maintain. And he used to often quote from this saint Tayu Manavar. Tayu Manavar was about 700 years in the south. He is the one who used to always talk about Summa Ire. Summa Ire matlab chup raho. Now that Summa Ire, incidentally, there was, I don't know if you have heard about this other gentleman, he told this to a person, Thinnai Swami. So he was a professor in Chennai, Thinnai Swami, I think Ramaswamy or Rangaswamy, and he was having some problems in his job. So he came to Bhagavan. Bhagavan said, Chumar. He took it literally, and he was there for almost 30-40 years near the ashram, but he acquired some powers. So the point is, different people benefited differently depending on their receptivity, their prarabdha, their ability to absorb. So various things have happened, and we are fortunate to be thinking of Bhagavan and even remembering him. So 127 years back, he went there and he remained silent and attracted the whole world to this great teaching. He was born in Tirucheri. How many of you have been to Tirucheri? Maybe? Tirucheri. This is about 50 kilometers south of Madurai. Tiruchuri. In Tamil, Tiru means turn, Churi is swirl. Tiruchuri. Tiru. Now the story goes, legend goes that Lord Shiva, there was a huge flood in that village, and by his very power, he turned that flood into a bubble. And the flood stopped. That is how the name Tiruchuri. Tiru, he just did it this came. And the god there, Shiva, is called Bhumi Natheshwar, the Lord of the earth. Lord of our Bhumika, earth. And the other name, Tirumeni Nadar. Tirumeni Nadar. Tirumeni. Meni is the body, a beautiful body. That is because in those days, see, the whole Saivite Bhakti movement started with this people called Nayanars, Saivite saints, and Sundaramurti Nayanar, Manikavasagar. So Sundaramurti Nayanar, one of the great saints, apparently had a dream where Lord Shiva appears in a golden dresses and very beautifully decked and beautiful body, and that he recollected and that he recounted, and that is why Tirumeni, such a beautiful body that Shiva himself is there. And they say doing charity in that temple is very, very advisable, and it's a very powerful temple. And of course, Ramana was born there, and he got drawn to Arunachala, the remover of bondage. And he stayed there and silently communicated this great in the temple. So people who can visit should visit. I'm sure if it is supposed to happen, it will happen as in everything else. But it's a great, and I think it is maintained the place where he was born also. And talking of this, before we recite the verses, there is one more thing that I would like you to. So the birth happened, and 27 years he was very much there. There is one more on doership, which Gorakhnath verse is very, very interesting and appealing, which conveys Bhagavan's thing. Let me recite it. So Gorakhnath says, Sahaj mila, so doodh barabar. Sahaj mila to doodh barabar. Sahaj means what? जो अपने आप आ जाता है वो दूध बराबर. Without effort, if something comes, it is like doodh. So if something happens by itself, nothing like it. That is the greatest thing. Sahaj mila so doodh barabar. Mang liya so pani. Mang liya so pani, meaning if you ask, then the doodh becomes diluted. But anyway, these days, the milk gets diluted to water. Mang liya so pani. Sahaj mila so doodh barabar. Mang liya so pani. खींच लिया वो रक्त बराबर. खींच लिया वो रक्त बराबर. गोरख बोले वाणी. So it's a very profound statement. Whatever we try to grab is rakt barabar. So when we say doership, whatever comes naturally. So when people used to be worried, his own brother, there are no funds, how to run the ashram. You would just say this, and some miraculously things would happen. There was an occasion when they had forgotten to get fruits. And everybody was worried, and Sarvadhikari was very scared to go and tell him, boss might scold. So he sent this assistant. Yeah. Within a minute, somebody comes and says, fruits have arrived. You see, they don't have sankalpa, these great sages. The very moment they think, or you tell them, it happens. So, सहज मिला so दूध बराबर, मांग लिया so पानी, खींच लिया वो रक्त बराबर, गोरख बोले वाणी. So, everything happens. Even Paul Brenton told him that there are so many problems in this world, are you not worried? So much of war, strife, it continues. Is it ever abating? It will not abate, he says. The reply given by Bhagavan was, there is a power that knows how to control. The ordainer controls the happenings and leave it to the power. You find out your own source and be with yourself, that is good enough. Similarly, is teaching the power of your knowledge of yourself is much more stronger than the verbal knowledge. Paravak, meaning beyond speech. Silence is beyond speech and it cannot be expressed. You see a beautiful scenery. Can you describe it? Let's say you see a beautiful sunset, or in Purnima you see. Can you describe it as much as you can experience it? You can only experience it. Even the taste of a good food, we can experience. You can't say it is so sweet, you have to eat it. So the experience cannot be substituted with words. So that is why this inner experience has to be gained through reflection, introspection, and deep devotion. So the path that he has advocated is indeed very, very strong, very powerful, simple. He said there are only two ways: bhakti, devotion, or inquiry, whichever suits you, but both will converge into the same end, whether it is bhakti or inquiry, and you will have to find out who you are, and that is our real nature. Our real nature is peace. Like you said, peace, yes. Peace, shanti, shuk, shanti. But in our attempt to get this peace, we tried various external trappings, not realizing it is not there. Otherwise, why shouldn't the richest nations be the most happiest? Research has been done. Richest nations are not necessarily most happy. There is more smile on the face of the poorer nations of people than the richer. They are more concerned with their own self, with acquisitions, and there is more trouble. Not to say riches are bad. Whatever comes naturally is fine, but riches are not proportional to happiness. Happiness or peace, shanti, is in direct relation to how much we spend time within. Satsang is very important. Bhagavan has similarly spoke about the importance of satsang. Satsang, because like-minded people, it's an opportunity to share Bhagavan's teachings, Bhagavan's thoughts, Bhagavan's words of incidents that have happened. It reinforces our mind to be with ourselves. And that is a great gift. We used to call it wakeful sleep. You see, we love children, don't we? Children are naturally divine. It's only that they have not woken up. So, yes, please. Yes. Yes, please. If that be his wish. Okay. No, but I think we should do it in a matter of informal exchange, because that is what we, yes, I think that is the way. See, it is not like a serious, that is not the way, that's not Bhagavan's way. It has to be savored in depth. And let us hope so, it will happen. So, why I selected now, what's the time? 15, yeah, now I think we can go. There are more things to say, but anyway, I selected 3 verses and I made copies. Okay, 3 verses, Dakshinamurti Stotra, and the first 2 verses of Arunachala Pancharatna. You know, that's interesting. This Arunachala Pancharatna, in the year 1917, a devotee came to Bhagavan. Can you please give me a sloka on the greatness of Arunachala? Just and out flowed. He had not studied Sanskrit, mind you, Bhagavan, but he just had association with Kavyaganta Muni. Such is the greatness of this great sage, he just flowed. So the first 2 verses were spontaneous. That's why I've taken the first 2. Uske baad, Kavyaganta Muni, because he was very much into teachings and also into lot of learning in that sense, which is good. He told Bhagavan, can you compose 3 more verses on Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Raja Yoga? Bhagavan composed these 3 verses, mostly focusing on Jnana and Bhakti, because to him that is what, and of course Raja Yoga is in it. He condensed it and composed it. So these 3 verses were on the request of Kavyaganta Muni. The first 2 were spontaneous, in praise of Arunachala. And Arunachala was God personified, because as Shiva, you know the story of Arunachala, I don't have to repeat it, how that hill came. Many of you know, I'm sure. The tussle. Now again, this is more as a story told to reinforce that we should give up our ego. Brahma and Vishnu had a tussle. It's not that they actually fought. It's to represent that we should not have an ego. Brahma, the creator, represents the egoistic thing also, because he got caught into his own creation and he was enjoying his own creation. And therefore his head had to be cut off to subdue the ego. Now the story told here is, they went to Shiva and said, who's greater? So Brahma went up, I will find out the end of that, or the start of the universe. Vishnu goes as a boar down and tries to locate. He says, I can't find out. He comes. Brahma takes the form of a swan. He says, thoda cheating karte hain. He picks up this Ketaki flower. Ketaki, that is why he says, look, Ketaki and Brahma joined hands. Let us play a trick, and then so they go down. But then Shiva knows everything is manifest power of the unmanifest. He says, so he banished Ketaki. That's why we don't use it for puja. Neither is there a Brahma temple, that's what, except Pushkar maybe. But the more deeper meaning is the ego has to be vanquished, and so they requested the column of light to manifest as a mountain, which it happened 2.6 billion years ago. And the shades have been, it's a very divine hill. So Bhagavan has himself said there are so many Siddhas living there, very sacred. And there is in Skanda Purana, the thought of Shiva. See, there are 5. No, I was wondering why mostly it is South Indian places that is written. There is a reason there. This Shiva's Saivite saints, 9 hours, they were extremely devoted to Shiva. Bhakti was very, very strong. And they were all in South India, and maybe that is the reason you will find most of these locations are South Indian specific, except Kashi. So to be born in Tiruvarur is in Tanjore. To be born in Tiruvarur is Mukti. But can you choose the place where you are born? Okay. To go to Chidambaram, where Bhagavan is in the cosmic dance display of Shiva, is Mukti. Again, you can't choose where you go. To die in Kashi, so you can't choose to die. Some people go there till they die, maybe they don't die or they don't, but you can't select where you will die. But to think of Arunachala, the very thought of Arunachala is Mukti. So that is the greatness of Arunachala. And this is mentioned in Skanda Purana. It has some 81,000 verses. And there are these 5 elements. We are all, I don't know how many of you have seen when you do the Girivalam. There is one spot where you can see the 5 hills, Panchabhuta. We are all made of 5 elements: air, akasha, water, okay, Panchabhuta, earth, space and fire. So this Panchabhuta, and there are temples in the south which are dedicated to these various places. Like there are places. Are you aware of those places? Would you like to know? Kalahasti. Kalahasti is what? Chair. Chidambaram, Vayu. Then in Trichy there is Kanchipuram. Yes. So there are these, I will just tell you these 5 things. I have just noted it down here. Vayu. Say Sri Kalahasti is in Andhra Pradesh, close to Chennai. So that is the Vayu Sthan. Then there is Jambukeshwar temple. Trichy, water. Apparently in tsunami time it was not. See, this is the miracle of Shiva or God. Tsunami did not trouble that, no? So now, what is the explanation? Scientific. It is a divine thing. There is a sanctum sanctorum, and the diya keeps moving, but there is no way the air can come in, or there is no ingress of air possible. It will be divine. So Kalahasti, air. Jampukeshwar, in Trichy, water. Agni, we know, Tiruvannamalai. Higher, yes, because of that power of that emanations of the power of. So it's really amazing. No, many things we are not able to rationally explain. It is the divine thing because the mind can only go so much. That is why when scientists keep saying everything should be explained, the truth cannot be explained by the mind. The mind has to disappear. Only then the truth will appear. But logic and science always wants everything to be fact. Prove karo. It cannot. So mind has to disappear. And in fact, only in a quiet mind can brilliant answers come. Einstein has said this. He was more a spiritual scientist. Only when the mind is quiet, even when we have a problem, if you quietly sit down and dwell on Ramana or Guru, answers will emerge. And the guideline is ask your inner voice. Adi Shankaracharya has given this advice, so has Bhagavan. Whenever in doubt, you don't have to ask anybody. Just sit quietly and ask your inner voice. It will never go wrong. Andar se jo आवाज आता है, you will get answers. And if you feel that I should do this, don't do. If you are in trouble, ask your inner voice. If it says no, don't do it. It will guide you. So, okay, fire, Agni, earth, Bhumika temple, Ekampareshwar, Kanchi, and then Chidambaram, we have already talked. So these places represent the elements. Now, why only south? Because at those days, these saints, I think, to my knowledge, they were predominantly in south side, and then in the north with so much of Muslim ingress and so much of attacks, unfortunately temples have not retained. South has fortunately been safe that way, and some of these sanctum sanctorum, though the north is called Bhakti land, south is Karma Bhumi. See, in the north, people do lot of, in fact, even Shivling, they we don't mind hugging. That love and affection is more. There it is more rigid compared to the north. So bhakti is more here, which is also very good. South it is more of rituals. That's a matter of practice. But it is again as we are conditioned. So the runa bondage goes if we think of this. So what we will now do, we have 10 minutes. Yeah. So we will recite, as I said, Arunachala Pancharatnam, the first two slokas were spontaneously composed. It's really amazing. No? It has to be something beyond human. How do you explain? Just coming like this from this great sage who has not learned Sanskrit. Amazing. And then Dakshinamurti Stotram. So I will just read out what we have done here is, I have, everybody has a copy of this? So shall we start with Dakshinamurti Stotram and then go to Pancharatna? Okay. So Dakshinamurti Stotram, as I said, Dakshinamurti. What is Dakshinamurti? Dakshina Amurti. Binamurti, formless. He was the formless representation facing south. Why south? See, we are all scared of death. He had conquered death. When you say death, even Bhagavan said, where have I died? We are so attached to this. This is going to go anyway. But he is deathless because he is always there. So Dakshinamurti is ever there. Mrityunjaya Mahamantra is also for conquering death, not the physical presence, but the death of the body, but the permanent stay of the being. Astitva. Anyway, so he taught these four sons of Brahma, Sanaka, Sanananda, Sanat Sujata, and Sanat Kumara. Now these were very wise sages, but they were troubled. They wanted to know the higher purpose of what is Brahman, what is the purpose of life. So they came to Dakshinamurti, who was a 16-year-old sage sitting like this. And as I said, this represents the blending of the Jiva with the Paramatma and the three impurities, Anava, Maya, and Karma. This is action. So we are all in various stages. Like first stage cancer, second stage cancer, third stage. I think this karma is almost like advanced cancer stage. Some of us survive, but then no effort goes wasted. What Bhagavan says, many people came to Bhagavan and said, what is this? Devoted devotee. I am not finding any progress. It is becoming worse. More thoughts, more troubles. He said, don't worry, it has to come out. How do you know what progress is happening? No sincere effort is wasted. It's not no better luck next time. So, ugly, but I mean, we will only accumulate good things by being on this path. So, I will read this verse and then we can explain. So, the first line is, if you have got it, Mauna Vyakya Prakatita Parabrahmatvam Yuvanam. What does it mean? Mauna Vyakya means salutations to Sri Dakshinamurti, whose exposition through profound silence is awakening the knowledge of the Supreme Brahman in the hearts of his disciples, who is himself youthful. So, Mauna Vyakya Prakatita Parabrahmatvam Yuvanam. Yuvanam, youth. He is in a youthful form, but he is silent and he is transmitting the knowledge of the truth through silence. Mauna Vyakyam Prakatita Parabrahmatvam. Parabrahma, the truth as relates to that which is beyond Brahman. The ultimate truth, Yuvanam in a youthful form. Second line, Vasishtante Vasada Rishiganai Avritam Brahmanishtai. Vasishtante Vasada, but is sitting surrounded by old and great sages who are devoted to Brahman. So he is surrounded by old people, but he is emanating the knowledge through silence in a youthful form. Vasishtante Vasada Rishiganai Avritam Brahmanishtaihi. Now he is a king of teachers. Acharyendra Karakalita Chinmudramananda Murti. Chinmudra Anandamurti. Anandamurti in the form of Chinmudra. Acharyendra, king of teachers. Now on this topic, since Upadhyaya is also there, they say there are various levels of teachers. Okay, Adhyapak, like a school teacher. Adhyapak, uske baad Upadhyaya, he instructs and also gives knowledge. So Adhyapak, Upadhyaya, Acharya gives skills. Doctor, medicine, whatever skills. So Adhyapak, Acharya, Upadhyaya, Acharya, Pandito. Pandito, next is Pandit. Pandit gives you insight. The fifth level is Drishtitha, the person who has vision, foresight, goes beyond insight, foresight. So we talked about Adhyapak, Upadhyaya, Acharya, Pandit, Drishtita, Guru. Guru is the one who removes darkness. Ru is darkness. It doesn't stop there. Guru removes darkness and shows you the way. The seventh is Sadguru. Sadguru वो है who सत में स्वयं है हमेशा. So he displays, in his very presence you feel the absence of problems. So Sadguru is very rare because Sadguru is those who are established in the self. So the seventh stage, Sadguru is one who is established in the self. So when Bhagavan was asked, how do you know who is a good guru? You know what his answer was? The peace that you get in his presence. Words need not be. You just see, even now, if you see, that is enough. So that is Sadguru because he was born like that for the benefit of you. So we are fortunate to be thinking and dwelling and remembering Sadguru. So this is Dakshinamurti Stotram composed by Adi Shankara, only one verse. There were 10 verses. There are 10 verses that he has composed to expound the greatness of Dakshinamurti who taught in silence and praising Dakshinamurti. Even in Tiruvannamalai it is sung in Tamil translation, they do that. And in fact Ramana was Dakshinamurti himself, Sri Ramana. There is a small temple there which is also ancient just outside. Thursday is the day of Dakshinamurti Guru Padivas. So we have sung that. So this is the thing, as I said, Chin Mudra and the three. So we have to get over these impurities and look to join with the Atman or Paramatma. So that is it. Now these two verses are indeed interesting. Arunachala Pancharatna. Now this is sung in the morning prayers in Tiruvannamalai in Ramanashramam in Sanskrit. When they offer milk offering to Ramana, they recite this. In the evening with the Parayanam, they recite the Tamil version. So this is the original. So let us read this. Karuna Purna Sudabde. Karuna Purna Sudabde means full of karuna, full of kindness. Karuna Purna Sudabde Kabalida Gana Vishwarupa Kiranavalya Arunachala Paramatmano Bhava Chit Kanja Suvikasaya. So he is describing the greatness of Arunachala. What is he saying? Karunapurna Sudabde, O ocean of ambrosia, nectar, the overflowing fullness of grace. The overflowing fullness of grace is the hill Arunachala. O Arunachala, supreme spirit, by whose series of rays the solid form of the universe is swallowed. See, the universe is swallowed because the universe happens within the self, not outside. It is swallowed. Be the sun for the complete blossoming of my mind lotus. So Ramana is seeking it for the benefit of all of us. The grace of Arunachala, be the sun, be the light to swallow my mind's growth, or swallow my mind and make it grow beyond my individual self. Karuna Purna Sudabde Kabalida Gana Vishwarupa Kirana Valya Arunachala Paramatman Aruno Bhava Chitkanj Suvikasaya. Imagine, spontaneous flow of this beautiful verse comes from Bhagavan on the request of devotee. The first verse. The second verse, Again, what does he say? To capture the essence, what he says is the whole world, in Bhagavatam it says the world is like the gossamer from the spider's web, spider's mouth. How the world it comes like the gossamer, it goes back. There is no, it comes, forms, goes back. The universe comes out of nothing, goes back to nothing. That is what it says. बाहर आ जाता है, अंदर आ जाता है. Why is this happening? If you ask Bhagavan has asked, why is this whole creation happening? He used to say, who's asking this question? So somebody asked him, then even the problems that I get is created by him. He said, if you think so, fine, then totally surrender. Then he underlines, if you want to go to fundamentals, find out who you are. Because the mind cannot answer why. The mind is always answering, wanting ready-made answers. So we have to dissolve the mind. So he explains here that the whole universe comes out of the Arunachala and is swallowed back. Oh Arunachala, in you all this picture comes into existence, is sustained and is destroyed. You dance in the heart as self or spirit as I, and hence they say heart is named for you. They say, no, the picture, Ramesh Bhaskar used to say, the picture cannot understand the purpose of the painter. The painting cannot understand the purpose of the painter. Maksad kya hai painter ka? Painting samajh nahi sakta. Until it blends with the picture. Until the painting blends with the painter, the painting cannot understand why. So our job is to surrender and blend. So the verse says, Tvai Arunachala Sarva Bhutva Stitva Pralina Meda Chitram. Meaning, the whole universe is a big picture which has come out of you. Hridaya Mitya Matya Nityasi Boste Vadanti Hridayam Namaha. Meaning, the whole thing comes out of you, goes back to you, and you rest as the heart in everybody. And that's why they say your name is heart. And he has of course said the heart is, the physical heart is here, the spiritual heart, and he gives such beautiful explanation. Why do you say the spiritual heart is here? So somebody asked him, he says, how do you point to yourself? Unconsciously we all said, I did this, I did that. So this is the location of that seed of consciousness from which sprouts the existence. So it is a prayer to Arunachala, surrendering to the great power of Arunachala. Tvai Arunachala Sarva Bhutva Stitva Pranida Meda Chitram Hridaya Mitya Matya Nityasi Boste Vadanti Hridayam Namaha. It is all full of devotion. Essentially surrendering and submitting to the will of this great power Arunachala. So I suppose, before we go for silence, may I request you if you want to say a few words, and then we can go into silence for some time, and then go into Upadesha Saram, which is a composition for the benefit of, see, Upadesha Saram is a beautiful composition by Bhagavan, which captures the essence of his teaching. It starts with Karma Yoga, and then Raj Yoga, and then comes to Jnana Yoga, which is his path. It has 32 verses, again composed by him beautifully. We will recite that, and 14 verses of Akshara Manamalai. Now, Akshara Manamalai, many of you know what is the background to Akshara Manamalai. See, the sages in those days, Ramana and his devotees, they used to beg for food. Bhiksha was considered essential part. Now, why Bhiksha? Ego. When you go and ask for Bhiksha, sometimes you don't get what you want. People can be offensive. But you are indifferent to praise, you are indifferent to hurt or slander. It subdues your ego. And when you get, and you eat what you get. So they used to go and beg, eat and survive. But there used to be another group which also used to, everywhere there becomes a problem. There is another group which goes and imitates this group. And they used to ask for Bhiksha. So the disciples of Bhagavan go to him and say that, look, we are having this, what do you do? Can you compose certain verses which will establish that we are the genuine Ramana Bhaktas or devotees? So he composed this 108 beautiful verses, full of love, devotion to the great Arunachala. So we will recite, they are in Tamil, we'll recite 14 of them, Upadesasara. Okay. And before that, we can, if you want to say a few words, but then we can, and I think we should end with silence, then recite. Yes, yes, sir.
Nothing much to say. The only thing is that we had beautiful satsang. We've been looking forward to this kind of informal talk and meeting talk. So only impressed what she made is let's have more of these sessions. And we will request you whenever you are come because mostly you are gathering also. Whenever you are there, you fix a Sunday or any time during the coming months and have this kind of a session.
Thank you.
Really grateful to you.
It's my, I think it's a blessing.
The amount of work you have done on these pages, you can see that.
I just collected certain thoughts, but I.
Beautiful session and we are all blessed.
I completely endorse what you said.
We must have this session.
Because mind is very.
Mind is a monkey. Kya kare?
We have to get back to the substance and get it good.
I know, but thanks. Definitely, I think.
The amount of knowledge you have,
Arre,
I must
kuch
say
nahi.
that, you know, it's from this place, future now. But tremendous thing about Maharishi, which you know, books and the other spirituals, whatever they are.
It's all
It's very.
Nothing like that. It is all, I think, Bhagavan's grace. I think very fact that we are here, we are blessed. It's an important day. And the only thing we should, interestingly, talking about this Kitty thing, Kitty was a small girl. I believe she was not in town and she wrote a letter to her mother. This is important because we should remember this. So she wrote a mother, please remember me to Bhagavan. Small girl, 6 years, 7 years, please remember me to Bhagavan. So those days they will just go show everything. So you know what Bhagavan says? If Kitty remembers me, I will remember her. See what a beautiful reflection. Which means for all of us, we remember him, he will take care. You know, it is for us to remember. He says the ocean of grace is full. It is for you to remember and surrender unconditionally. And guidance comes mysteriously and powerfully. So thank you very much. If anybody has to say anything, you can. Otherwise, we can go to any. So let us now recite Upadesha Saram in Hindi. Please go to silence. Shall we do silence now? Yeah, it will be good if we maintain a minute or two of silence and then go to Upadesha Saram and Aksharamanamala. Okay? So please think of your own being of Bhagavan. Just maintain silence. Keep the mind quiet. Om Sri Ramana.
The nearest thing to God is a quiet mind. Is
90 in Sanskrit.
90?
Yeah, and 46 in Tamil.
Tamil 46
In Tamil.
Tamil and 90 in Upanishad. The first verse is about worship spiritually. Tattva Praptiyaparam Karma Kimparam Karma Sacharam means you have a right to action which is said in Gita. rules are given, how much you get, what you get is not in your hand. The ordiner decides the result for a work. So he starts with the karma, that is the sentence.
अस्तुराज्ञया प्राप्यते फलं कर्म किं परं कर्म तज्जडं गृहीतमातरो पदनकारणं फलमशाश्वतं गतनिरोधकम् ईश्वरार्पितं नेच्छया कृतं सिद्धशोधकं मुक्तिसाधकम् कायवाङ्मनः कार्यमुत्तमम् पूजनं जप चिन्तनं क्रमात् जगतैषधी युक्तसेवनम् अष्टमूर्तिभृत् देवपूजनम् उत्तमस्तवा दुज्जमण्डल चित्तजं जप ज्ञानमुत्तमम् आज्यधारया श्रोतसासमम् सरलचिन्तनम् विरलतं परम् वेदभावना सौवमित्यसौ भावनापिता भावनीमता भावशून्यस भावसुस्तुति भावना बला भक्तिरुत्तमा तीर्थरे मन स्वस्थता क्रिया भक्ति योगो दार्शनिश्चितम् वायुरोदना लीयते मनः जालभक्षिव क्रोधसाधनम् चित्तवायव चित्क्रियायुधा सागयोद्वयी शक्तिमूलका लयविनाशने उभयरोधने लयकदं पुनः भवति नो मृदम् प्राणबन्धना दीनमानसम् एकचिन्तना नासमेत्यद नष्टमानसो हृष्टयोगिनः कृत्यमस्ति किं स्वस्थितं यदा दृश्यवारिदं चित्तवात्मनः चित्वदर्शनं तत्त्वदर्शनं मानसं दुगिं मार्गणे कृते नैव मानसं मार्गार्जवात् वृद्धयस्त्वहं वृद्धिमाश्रिता वृद्धयो मनो विद्यहं मनः अहमयं कुतो भवति चिन्वद ऐपदत्यहं निजविचारणम् अहमिनाशवा अहमहं दया स्फुरतिरस्वयं परमपूर्णस इदमहं वदा अभिज्ञमन्वहम् अहमलीनके अव्ययसत्तया विक्रयेन्द्रिय प्राणतीतमः नावसेकस सज्जडं ससत् सत्त्ववासिका चित्ववेदरा सत्ययायिके चित्तयायहम् ईशजीवयो वेशजीविता सत्स्वभावदो वस्तु केवलम् वेशानद स्वात्मदर्शनम् ईशदर्शनम् स्वात्मरूपतः आत्मसंस्थितिः स्वात्मदर्शनम् आत्मनिर्भया आत्मनिष्ठता ज्ञानवर्जिता अज्ञानहीनची ज्ञानमस्ति किं ज्ञातुमन्तरं किं स्वरूपमेव अम्बरं सुगं विन्दतीय वस्तु दैविक अहमवेदकं निरविमानकं महतितं तपो रमणवाक्यं महतितं तपो रमणवाक्यं महतितं तपो रमणवाक्यम्.
Love chanting is silent meditation. Quiet meditation is the most powerful, like the breathing of an oil on the lamp. So the more we do introspectively, silently, that is the most powerful. Again, he reinforces the jnana and inner approach of spiritually scattered various methods of knowledge focusing on jnana.
Saramala, 92 in Sanskrit and
92 pages in Sanskrit.
15.
15 in Tamil.
14 stanzas. 14.
First 14 stanzas.
92 and 15, we will recite the first 14, there are 108. But because of time, we are talking about the first 14, as I said, these were the devotional times that we
तरुणारुणमणि किरणावलिनि அக்கரமண மகிழ்மாலை தெருநாடிய திரு அடியார் தெருமர் தெளிய பரவுதல் பொருளாக கருணாகர முனி ரமணாரியன் உவகையினால் சொல்லியது கதியாக அருணாச்சலம் என அகமே அறிவோடும் ஆழ்வார் சிவனுலகாழ்வாரே அருணாச்சலவரற்கேற்ற அக்ஷரமணமாலை சாற்ற கருணாகர கணபதியே கரமருளி காப்பாயே அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சலமென அகமே நினைப்பவர் அகத்தை வேறறுப்பாய் அருணாச்சலா அழகு சுந்தரம் போல் அகமும் நீயும் முற்று அபிநமாயிருப்போம் அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அகம்புகுதீர்த்துன் அகருவை சிறையாய் அமர்வித்ததென்கொல் அருணாச்சலா ஆருக்காயனை ஆண்டனை அகற்றிடு அகிலம் பழித்திடும் அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா இப்பழி தப்புனையே நினைக்கின்றார் இனி யார் விடுவார் அருணாச்சலா ஈன்றிடும் அன்னை பெரிதருள் புரிவோர் இதுவோ உனதருள் அருணாச்சலா அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா அருணா என்னை கலவாவிடில் இதுவோ ஆண்மை அருணாச்சலா. ஏன் இந்த ஊரக்கம் என்னை பிறர் இழுக்க இது உனக்கழகோ அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. வைகுல கள்வர் அகத்தினில் பூண்டோ அகத்தினில் இளையோ அருணாச்சலா. ஒருவனம் உன்னை ஒளித்தவர் வருவார் உந்தூதே இது அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. ஓங்காரம் பொருள் உயர்வில்லை உனை யார் அறிவார் அருணாச்சலா. ஔவை போல உன் அருளை தந்து ஆழ்வது உன் கடன் அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சல சிவ அருணாச்சலா. அருணாச்சலம் வாழி அன்பர்களும் வாழி அக்ஷரமண மாலை வாழி. ஓம் நமோ பகவதி ஸ்ரீ அருணாச்சல ரமணாய நம. நமோ பகவதி ஸ்ரீ அருணாச்சல ரமணாய நம. ஓம் நம சிவாய நம. ஓம் நம சிவாய நம. ஓம் நம சிவாய நம. உலகண்ட இனிப்பு பண்ணம் கோசீரம் அன்னதான நிவேத்தியம் சமர்ப்பயாமி. மத்தியே மத்தியே பானீயம் சமர்ப்பயாமி. அமிர்தோபிதம் உத்ராபோசனம் சமர்ப்பயாமி. நீராஜனம் சமர்ப்பயாமி. நீராஜனானந்தரம் ஆசமனியம் சமர்ப்பயாமி. உகீவல சமாயுக்தம் நாகவல்லி தலைவர்தம் கற்பூர்ண சூர்ண சம்யுக்தம் பிரதியுதாம் கற்பூர நீராஜனம் ஸ்ரீ ரமண மகர்ஷிக்கு சமர்ப்பயாமி. தூபார்த்தம் சமர்ப்பயாமி. தூபார்த்தம் சமர்ப்பயாமி. कर्पूर नीराजनम श्री रमण महर्षि की समर्पयामि।
Namo Ramana. This brings us to the closure of Advent Day celebrations at Ramana Kendra, Delhi, with Dr. Vijay Vancheshwar. Devotees will be gathering outside the shrine now for prasadam.